It's a quick setup, and with the iron board out and setting the temperature on my steam iron suitable for a cotton cloth, I'm all set. And this is one of the activities which I really like on Sundays, to spend some time ironing the clothes, which is basically a euphemism also to spend some time ironing your thoughts. That's how meditative ironing can be. Cotton clothes, as you would see, can be quite wrinkled even out of the dryer, and you need a good temperature and steam to help yourself iron out those wrinkles. I typically like to check the label at times to ensure the temperature and any other instructions if be there. Mostly, I would remember what cloth it is, and one is familiar. But sometimes newer clothes, it's always good to check those instructions. I like to begin with the back part of the shirt first. Over the years, I've just kind of formed my best approach to iron so that it does not take much effort thinking about it. I like to move the iron in the direction of the cut, and or in the shape of the cut and towards the edges. That kind of eases it out and makes it more uniform all over. There are no movement differences that one could see. It's almost like a paintbrush. You have to make it consistent, otherwise you could see those marks of brush movement. So it's something similar to that in my mind. That's how much I enjoy ironing my clothes that I'm comparing it to a painter painting, or making his painting. This part of the shirt, if you see, is a little tricky part, because that right under that label is sometimes where the pleats are stitched. So it's not always very straightforward. So you have to go zigzag, moving from bottom to up, so that you're in line with those pleats, which is basically giving a nice fall to the shirt. And if you see, sometimes at the back. So yeah, this zigzag is how I iron out this part of the shirt. Sunday afternoons, I think, are the best time, because it's ingrained as a child. I used to just prepare for the next week, ironing out all the clothes, cleaning the shoes, setting the bag and everything, and that habit just continued over the years growing up as well. This shoulder part, called yoke, is something which sometimes one tends to forget, because you generally don't, it's not visible, but it's important because it gives a nice fall to the whole apparel on your body. I like to not leave any part out, so this one in particular. Sometimes this part is a little tricky because a lot of cloth and stitching in a particular way around this area, and obviously it's around the neck. It's circular, because of which a lot of different creases which could form, and you have to be a little careful with that. So I like to just do a quick wipe down on this part and then unfold it back, so that crease which formed from between the yolk and the back part is just smoothened out. If I spread out like this and just smoothen it out. Yeah, so old habits, I was saying, yeah, they become a part of you, and you keep going back to those old habits, die hard. And some habits are good, so it's always good to keep going back to those or keeping them alive. This is one of those. It's all a meditative beyond a point. I know the word has been overused, but one would realize if you enjoy something that you really like, then you end up getting lost in the thoughts, while the main activity just takes a back seat. Your subconscious mind is able to take care of it. At least that's what I feel happens, especially with activities like cleaning my car, doing utensils, ironing, or just general cleaning. In fact, is very cathartic. Another overused word, I know, but true. I might end up shaking this whole iron board because I'm using a little heavy hand over here. And anyways, my iron board is not that strong, but it's very useful. It's very easy and portable. And I think I've got most part of the back part. Now I'll start with the front. This part on one side has pockets, and sometimes the other part also has pockets, but not for this shirt, so which is good. Pockets are important because that's the first thing probably you notice, like, besides the the collar. So it matters that this part is pretty neatly done. And this placket is something which has to be pressed a little hard from the outside as well as inside, because that kind of ensures that there are no wrong or incorrect creases left. So I like to fold it like this and then fold it a little deeper and just do the pleat part, not forming any extra line on the shirt part. So I will just very finely keep it on the pleat part outside with the edge of the iron and not on the inside. Yeah, because if I do it on the inside, then there would be a line that would form on the whole shirt, and then I'd have to clean it up or iron it with even stronger or firmer press. So with that out, I just have to move up to the pocket and the collar area. And the rainy day today, it just adds to the whole it gives you another reason basically to go about doing such activities within the house, within the confines of the home. There are always a lot of things to be taken care of to set your house in order. A lot of thoughts which can be cleared and wrinkled away. Or to succinctly put it, there are a lot of thoughts which you can iron out while doing this activity, is what I always feel. In fact, there are certain activities which, like for instance, when you're brushing your teeth, it's one of those moments when a lot of thoughts come in your head, and most of them also clear out a lot of lingering problems and issues. Something similar happens when I'm doing this. So that part, okay, now that the collar part that I've completed, I'll need to flip it over to the other side and continue with. Now this part has buttons lined up on the placket, which makes it interesting because you have to go in zigzag in and out. It's almost like test driving your car on an obstacle course. At least that's how I consider it. So zigzag, zig in, zig out, and then go back to your starting point and then continue it till the top button of the collar. That gives it a smooth, uniform run from top to down. And in fact, on this particular part of the shirt, there's one extra strip which I will just cover doing is when I am done with this top part of the collar, I would iron out all these gaps between the buttons. And if you notice, sometimes right at the edge of the buttons towards the edge of the placket, there are sometimes wrinkles that form. Yeah, right here. And I just like to use the edge of the steam iron to move it right from the bottom to top and top to bottom once, and just using the fine edge of the steam iron, keeping it a little tilted, that really irons out those fine wrinkles. But those can get really rigid at times if you leave them unironed over time, over many washes. So that's something I'm just finicky about. After this, I need to just flip it over to just have a look, and then flip it over to the most most crushed part of this shirt right now, which is its sleeves. And I don't know what's with the cotton shirts, but in this particular sleeve with its double crease and the pleat at its edge, at its cuffs, if you can call those, they've just gone so rigid over the tumble wash that I would need to hold it tight from the top and press a little firmer, shaking the whole iron board up, but that's worth it. Keep it stable and let the steam do its job. And I like to move, as I said, in the direction or in the shape of the part that I am in. If it's a little curve, so I move the iron in a little curve, trying to make use of the lightweight of the iron. It's really handy. I really like this one. It has served me really well. And the flip side is always easier because once you get the top part, the flip side is a half job done anyway. And similarly, the other sleeve, it's pretty rough, pretty crumpled, pretty wrinkled, I would say. In fact, this would take a little more effort, it looks like. I have to actually press it between the fingers and the thumbs and stretch it out a bit. I mean, not too much so that the cloth is not damaged, but yeah, stretch out a bit and then do a little bit of a rub. And just go slowly pressing it, use the steam again, I don't put too much water for this precise reason, because sometimes the finger is pretty close to the iron and it can be dangerous, and I've had instances where the sudden burst of steam because of too much water was too close to my finger, and it's way too hot, and it's not advisable at all. So yeah, little water is good because the steam comes out in limited quantities, just the right amount that one needs. So, and flipping it and doing the other side again. It's rained the whole day, so I'm gonna probably do a couple of clothes today at my own pace, just enjoying the fine nuances that I've begun to be very particular about ironing these clothes. Cargo jeans can be very tricky around pockets. I hope to do it one of these days. I mean, I got an old pair of cargo jeans, so I'm not sure it'll look good on camera, but I can think of, throwing it in just for the sake of experimenting the next time I wash it. The last but not the least is this collar part. I think the most hard part of the cloth as such in terms of thickness. So a good press, firm hand always does good to collar and iron out all the creases that are there or that form during the wash. Just turn it around in the shape of the neck. That's what I try to do, and hold the edges of the collars and give a slight press just on the end parts on either side. So just that part, and on the other side as well. That's what I do. I mean, not the whole collar because it's in a round in shape, and I've already ironed it by keeping it flat. Just by doing this part, it holds the collar a little upright when you wear it, and that's about it. It's pretty hunky-dory. I take a look at it, bring in a hanger, and I think I'm all set to move on to the other piece of cloth, but with a fine touch. I like to close the top button before I hang it in my closet. Well, if you enjoyed that video, let me know. Thank you.